The father takes his daughter hunting with him. However, behind her, the father slowly turned his gun and aimed at his daughter's head. Just a few days before, Thelma wanted to hold her newborn brother, but her mother told her to leave. Ever since Thelma's brother was born, Mom rarely cares for her anymore. Her brother's cries grew louder and louder. Thelma had to close her eyes and pretend she couldn't hear him. But the next moment, the crying stopped immediately. Her brother disappeared out of thin air. When her mother found out, she asked her where her brother was. How would Thelma know? She was confused and looked at the couch. The crying suddenly appeared. Mom walked over to him. Not surprisingly, she saw her son stuck under the couch. Then the couple struggled together. At the same time, they looked at Thelma with reproachful eyes. But on this day, when her mother was giving her brother a bath, turned to get a towel returned to find her son missing from the tub. Dad immediately woke up Thelma, only to find that she didn't know anything. The couple had to rummage through their closet. But Selma suddenly looked out the window. Then she took her father to the river, pointing to the middle of the river. The father ran frantically to the river and broke down. He saw his son frozen under a thick layer of ice. His son was not breathing. When the mother found out, she jumped off the bridge as if she were dead, although not dead but left with a permanent disability. And these things growing up, Selma had no memories. She just thinks her parents were very strict with her even when she was in college. They still called her every day to ask her what she was doing. She wasn't allowed to drink or stay out late. But one day, while she was studying in the library, a strange thing happened. A bird crashed right into the window. Thelma's hand jerked uncontrollably, then her body. She fell to the floor and began to convulse all over. But the next day, while watching a musical, Thelma started again with a twitching of her fingers. The huge chandelier in the venue also began to shake. Thelma saw this and ran away. But the convulsions can happen at any time. For example, while swimming, she suddenly convulsed and she drowned in the pool. But it didn't last long. But when Thelma swam there was a wall on the surface of the water. She wasn't able to push through it. She didn't know what the problem was. Thelma rushed to the hospital for tests. Doctors found that the case showed she had a seizure when she was 6 years old. She was heavily sedated for it. Thelma had no recollection of this. Her parents never mentioned it either. In order to test her brain fluctuations, the doctors put Thelma in a room alone. Her brain was stimulated through conversation. When asked about her only best friend at school, Thelma began to breathe heavily. She had a mental image of her best friend walking up to the window, and then she had a violent seizure. After the treatment was over, she picked up the milk to take a sip. Suddenly, a few drops of red liquid dripped into the glass. Thelma spurted out a nosebleed, but the fluctuating graph showed the brain waves were not very high during the seizure. This means that she did not have epilepsy. Maybe the seizures were caused by psychological problems, and Thelma had a grandmother with mental illness. Mom and Dad said she was dead, but the doctor said she was in a nursing home not far away. Thelma rushed to the nursing home, learned from the nursing staff. Grandma often thinks she can control everything. To stop her, Thelma's father increased the effect of the drugs, so much so that Grandma is now delirious and can't recognize anyone. What is the secret here? The girl heard a strange sound in the house. Just about to turn around, the glass window behind her suddenly exploded and quickly sucked her away, as if nothing had ever happened. Ever since these images appeared in Thelma's mind, it was as if her best friend had really been sucked away. She could no longer get in touch with her. Worried, she went to her best friend's house. When she entered, she saw clothes on the floor, and the window was intact. Thelma was stunned at the sight. There was a strand of hair stuck in the middle of the glass. That's what she thought. Was everything in her head coming true? Panicked, she called her parents. She was quickly picked up and brought home. Her parents reassured her not to be afraid and told her to have tea. It didn't take long. She felt very weak. She collapsed on the table and drifted off to sleep. It turned out that Dad had put medicine in the tea because she had mystical powers like her grandmother. Anything she thought could come true, but Thelma can't control it. That's the reason for the epilepsy. So her parents put her under house arrest. Every day when she woke up, she had to take a lot of Valium. Dad would make her lift her tongue to see if it was fake. She would pray to the wall all day. Every day she would watch over her. Even her father helped her with her bath. Thelma was afraid she would become like her grandmother, but Dad didn't want to let her go. As usual, she took her medication, but when Thelma fell asleep, her brain became confused. Meanwhile, Dad found in the sea a flock of birds hovering overhead, and when he looked further down, Both hands were on fire and soon spread to his whole body. To save his life, he had to jump into the sea first, but as soon as he peeked out of the water, his body soon burst into flames again. Dad let go because he couldn't take it anymore. Then he sank to the bottom of the sea forever. At that moment, Thelma also woke up from her dream. She came to the shore, saw the empty ship, then jumped into the sea and started swimming to the depths. But when she woke up, the ship had returned to the shore. Thelma spat out a black bird. She knew she could control her powers. Only she returned home with her hand gently stroking her mother's disabled foot, then planned to leave. Behind her, her mother pushed her wheelchair and tried to catch up with her but found herself on her feet. Thelma finally escaped from the house.